From the Edison Theater on the campus of Washington University, KCTV5 in Kansas City, and News 4 in St. Louis present the Republican Senatorial Primary Debate, brought to you by AARP. Now, here are your moderators, Larry Connors and Brad Stevens.
Good evening, Missouri, and thank you for joining us for this statewide broadcast across stations all across Missouri. We're glad to have you as part of this event. This is the final debate for these candidates in advance of the August 7th primary. One of these three hopes to go on and challenge Senator McCaskill in the November election. There are several key issues to be dealt with tonight. Obviously, the Supreme Court has made its ruling on Obama health care since they last met in such a debate format. We have issues about the economy, unemployment, taxes, immigration. Numerous questions have been submitted by many of you, either Facebook or YouTube. We'll be covering some of those as well tonight. Brad and I have some questions we've shared, but we also have not shared everything because to protect the integrity of the questions and also with the candidates not giving them any of those questions in advance, they might obviously have some idea because they've been through this before. A quick note to the candidates, of course, we encourage you to be as brief as possible. It's a chance to show how well versed you are on your subject and your wit. At the same time, it gives us a chance to target your opponent with a tougher question perhaps. Brad.
Larry, thank you. And again, this is a big night for a debate, a big night. We've got a lot of things to get through in an hour, so we're going to start right away. I want to introduce our candidates tonight. First, successful businessman John Brunner. Middle podium, former Missouri State Treasurer and State Senator Sarah Steelman. And third, Congressman Todd Akin. All right, first what we're going to do to lay out the format, they're each going to have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. And just so that you know, we chose this by choosing numbers out of a hat. Mr. Brunner picked first, Sarah was second, and the Congressman was third. Mr. Brunner, your floor.
It's good to be with everybody tonight. It's an incredible privilege and opportunity to not only to be here, but to travel all across Missouri. And it's the same theme that I hear everywhere. People across this state are hurting. They're looking for jobs. They're looking for opportunities. They see a country that they once loved and admired with such passion and dedication that they're all involved here at this particular time because they see the American dream drifting off course, out of reach of their children and grandchildren. I got into this race here because I believe that there's some background and experiences that I can do to help restore and recover this American dream. You know, a little bit of background here. I served as an officer in the United States Marine Corps. I had the privilege of serving with some of the most wonderful, dedicated people that you could possibly ever imagine. And I spent time in the North Atlantic, in the Mediterranean, the East Coast and West Coast. And I brought those leadership skills and experiences back with me to a small business that was struggling, a business that was founded by my grandmother and grandfather back in 1908. The same business that my dad joined after his service in World War II in the Navy. Well, I got there and things were tough. But I rolled up my sleeves and got underneath the production lines, learned to drive the forklift trucks. My wife was there on the production lines as well. You know, in a small business or small farm or small ranch, you do everything you need to do to pull things together. Well, we pushed forward and we worked really hard. And we were able to grow that small business from 40 people to over 1,400 associates. And then finally, I spent a lot of time in the mission field. It was what my father would challenge me from the book of James, putting your faith into action. And faith without works is dead or ineffectual. So it's these background and experiences that I want to take here as a citizen senator, not as a career politician. I'm used to getting things done and accomplishing things. We cannot kick the can down the road any further. We have to pull together to restore the American dream, and that's why I'm running for the U.S. Senate.
Thank you, John Brunner. The Edison Theater obviously has an audience. We did ask them actually during the debate itself to refrain, but certainly we understand you want to applaud these introductory remarks. Next, Sarah Steelman, former State Treasurer and State Senate candidate.
Thank you. I'm Sarah Steelman, and I'm from Rolla, Missouri, and I'm running for the United States Senate because the status quo has got to go. And you know, all over Missouri and all over this country, for the first time ever, there are parents and grandparents out there who are worried about their kids' future and whether they're going to have the same kind of opportunities that we had when we were growing up. And why is that? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because people like Claire McCaskill and Obama have shackled us and our families and our kids yet to even be born with an unsustainable, overwhelming debt. And we cannot afford more of the same. And the fact is that debt takes away our freedom. And our country's prosperity is based on freedom. Now, how has this happened? I'll tell you how. Government has become nothing more than an industry. And the United States Senate that used to protect our freedom, the last institution that protected our freedom, has now become nothing more than a club dominated by people like Claire McCaskill and Harry Reid, who are wealthy, privileged, and pampered, and care more about their own reelection and more about their own power than they do about us. Think about it. They fly around in their jets while they raise our energy prices. They raise our taxes while they don't even pay their own. They support a retirement system that takes away, they support the Federal Reserve that supports a retirement system while we pay for their own pensions. They exempt themselves from laws that are choking our businesses. And to top it all off, they don't even pass a budget and fulfill their constitutional responsibility while they bankrupt our country. I'm not going to Washington to be part of that good old boys club. I never have been, and I never will be. I'm going to fight for our future and for our kids' future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Congressman Aiken.
Hello, I'm Congressman Todd Aiken, and I'm running to replace Claire McCaskill. You know, my background is a little unusual for politics. I'm trained as an engineer. I served in the Army and also worked for IBM. And over those years, I noticed that political decisions were making terrible political decisions that affect our families and our businesses. And so I ran for office. I got elected. As a congressman, I used an engineering kind of approach. I put the politics aside, defined the problem, and worked towards solutions. The result was I'm rated the most conservative congressman in the state of Missouri. Now, since Ronald Reagan, everybody claims that they're conservative, but talk and promises are cheap. But a proven record comes at a cost. An example of that was the fact that I voted against No Child Left Behind, and I was the only congressman in Missouri that voted no on it. I didn't think a bunch of bureaucrats should really be affecting the local control of our schools. I also was against the Wall Street bailout, the stimulus bill, Obamacare, and then, of course, the debt ceiling that gutted our military. You want to know what makes me different? It's that I put politics aside and make my decisions based on principle. The votes that I've taken in Congress show that trend. But also the way that we're running our campaign shows that same idea of putting politics aside and advancing principle. I'm not going to try to get ahead by pushing other people down, sling mud, or try to deceive voters with all kinds of attack ads. I believe that a real leader is instead going to build people up and unite us together in the ideas that made America the greatest nation in the world. And so I will continue to stand on principle and lead with courage. Thank you.
All right, candidates, thank you. Now let's get to the meat of the debate. Let's get to some of the questions that you have asked. Our first question